Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. It's time to go through my thoughts of Tennessee's first fall camp practice of 2024. And I'm going based off of what I saw as far as the limited clips that we get on all these different various platforms. Also, what I got from the insider notes. As always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think as we're going through this down in the comments section. So let's start off with the players that were limited today. Sounds like Cam Seldon was limited, had on that red jersey. We did see that. I don't know if he was limited. Looks like he was going through drills, but anything that was anywhere near physical, I'm sure that he did not participate in. And also, Mike Matthews was limited today. Not quite sure what's going on with him. Hopefully, we will get some more notes on that in the coming days. And Lance Hurd was also limited. So we should be getting more news and notes on these players as time progresses. But it does sound like Cooper Mays was a full go, and so was Javonte Spraggins. But that's pretty much to be expected. Until we put them pads on at that point, I would like to know how much are we going to be putting those players out there. You probably want to try to wrap them up as much as you can. Now, let's talk about some of the media coverage. Going back to yesterday, the whole sentiment, I feel like the whole vibe was just about confidence throughout this entire team, from the coaches to all the players. That's really big. Even Coach Halsley talked about Nico having to go out and play for 17 games. But if we go undefeated, it would only be 16. I think that's what he meant. But we get his sentiment, and that's huge just to hear that from your offensive coordinator. It sounds like, in every single position group, somebody, okay, if not everybody, spoke about a championship being the goal. And just the simple fact that they're not only saying it, but saying it out to the media lets you know that they truly, truly believe it. I think that, Spraggs looked and sounded very, very confident. I love the way that he said championship, or he said national championship. That's huge. Also, Nico, I mean, you want to talk about just the epitome of confidence, him coming out and saying, hey, listen, I love to go out and win on the road as opposed to winning inside of Neyland. Some people might take that wrong, but I get his point. His point is just that, it's a lot sweeter going out to Lexington, going to Athens, Gainesville, Tuscaloosa, and winning as opposed to winning at home. He still loves to win in Neyland, but it's just something different about it. There's no doubt whenever you go to the, opponent's house and beat them there. So I love to hear that. Just a whole lot of confidence in his entire interview. If y'all didn't see it, y'all need to go check that out. Now, moving on to today's media, we did get to hear from Coach Heupel. He just kind of did a whole lot of coach speak. He still sounds very confident, but let's talk about the true freshmen that spoke. We heard from Jordan Ross, Carson Gentle, and Jeremiah Hurd. We'll start off with Carson Gentle. Very well spoken, very intelligent. I didn't know that he had any older brothers, but it does sound like he got to see some of their process being recruited by Tennessee. I think that they went on to Harvard or something like that. You could tell that they are kind of like Ivy League types of guys, just extremely well spoken. So I love that sort of confidence from him. But also, he just talks about, being up to, about 260-ish pounds, wants to get up to 265. And he said, man, listen, on the first day, the speed was crazy. Just getting lined up was crazy. But it's not going to be as difficult as he probably sees on a day-in and day-out basis versus our offense versus other opponents, because we do run with that tempo. But if he can get adjusted to going up against our offense, he should be able to take care of any other offense that he'll see. He also said some really good things just about the veterans leading him and wanting to learn from them, understanding that defensive line is very deep. But I'm expecting for him to have a really good season. He might not play, okay, like not in the actual game, or maybe, in some mop-up duty, but we're just so deep there. I don't know how much real playing time he'll get, but on special teams, he should be out there. He should be able to contribute, from that perspective. But whenever you think further down the line, next season and the year after that, he's going to be a stud. So excited about that. Now let's talk about Jeremiah Hurd. He made the transition from defensive line, which is what he played in high school, to playing offensive line for us. And at 6'8", 320 pounds, you have to love the way that he carries that. Just looking at him inside of that press conference, I mean, you can tell he's very, very well put together. I mean, prototype size in every single way for, left tackle, right tackle, what have you. But I love how mature he was as well. It's really my first time getting an opportunity to hear him speak. And he said that he was excited about moving over to the offensive side of the ball just to help this team out. He said that at first he had to kind of think about it, but the more that he thought about it, it made a lot of sense for him. So that's huge. He wants to do what's best for this team, and he sees the benefit for himself as well. But he also talked about punting. He said that he had an 88-yard punt in high school. That's crazy, right? And that would be cool if we could maybe find some sort of a package at some point for him to punt, but I don't think that that's going to happen. Obviously, Jackson Ross is really good. I think this might be Jackson Ross's last year of eligibility. He might have one more season. Either way, at some point, if we ever need a punter, at least we know that we got big 6'8", 330-pound Jeremiah's hurt. So I thought that that was cool. And then also Jordan Ross, hearing him talking about he came up on campus at about 235. I think that he kind of pointed out the fact that he does also, or he did also play basketball. And in the basketball season, he cut down to 215, which is why he came up on campus at 235. Now he's up at 250 plus, and he's just trying to maintain that weight. But that's huge to come up with that sort of size. And we'll talk a little bit more about him as we kind of get into each position breakdown. But I just love the way that he spoke. I love what he had to say. Talks about James Pierce and some of the other vets up front, helping him out, helping him get acclimated. And he says, man, listen, I'm inside of this building almost every single day. Saturdays and Sundays he's getting extra work with Coach Eck, Coach Chop, all those guys. So you absolutely have got to love hearing three true freshmen come up and speak on behalf of their entire class with so much confidence, so much maturity, and the future of this team is very, very bright. All right, now let's break down each position group, starting off with the quarterbacks. I think number one, Nico looked very good, very confident. He's clearly gained some weight since last spring. I think he said that he was up around 215 pounds. He actually looks a little bit bigger than that just because he's so tall, but hopefully he will be able to continue to gain the weight. I don't think that that's going to be a huge deal by any means. He's going to be just fine this season. I love the way that he looked throwing passes on air. He may have missed one or two, but that is to be expected. It's just day number one. And I mean, that's going to happen. Right now, we're operating at this season's floor. I think that we are very close to where our ceiling was coming out of spring, which is great news. It means we're going to have a very good football team. Now, Gastamore, I think, operated very well too. I mean, again, they're just in shorts and helmets and stuff, but you'll just love the confidence. I think that he has a great throwing motion, very, very accurate. Jake Merklinger, same thing. All three of those quarterbacks, their pocket presence looked phenomenal. They were very decisive with, where they're throwing the ball, where they're placing it, all that good stuff. So looking forward to a great season, or, at least to a great rest of camp out of that quarterback room. We'll see how we continue to progress. Now on to the running backs. I was happy to see Cam Seldon back out there. He was running around. Now, again, he was limited, which just probably meant that if it's anything that's anywhere near physical, he's not going to be participating in that. And that is to be expected. How quickly can he get back? And when will he be, back at full speed, full contact, all that type of stuff? I think that by the end of fall camp, they want to get him some physical contact and maybe have the option to put him out there for the UT Chattanooga game. I don't think that they would. Maybe you bring him in some spurts versus NC State, but I think ultimately the Oklahoma game is what they're shooting for. So love what I saw from him. He looks very explosive. He's carrying his weight well. You can tell that he's just anxious to get back to playing football. Also, I think that Khalifa Keith just looks huge. He's listed at 239. He could be bigger than that. I mean, he just looks just way bigger than he did last spring. So that's great. I mean, he's going to end up being our short yardage running back. I also think that Peyton Lewis looked good. He's about Cam Seldon size, might be a little bit, thinner, but what does he give you? I think that he looked really good just going through all these little drills. Now, I didn't really get to see anything from Dylan Sampson, which is cool. We don't need to see him, or Deshaun Bishop. Who's going to end up being running back number 2 when the season starts? Is it going to be Deshaun Bishop, or could it be Khalifa Keith, or is it going to be Peyton Lewis? We don't know. So that's going to be a very, very good battle. It's going to be a very close battle throughout all of spring. Now let's talk about our wide receiver room. I was very impressed with them. I'm going to take you through what the insider said. Were the starting, first string, second string, and third string. So first string was Brew McCoy, Squirrel White playing at the slot, and then Caleb Webb playing on the outside. Then the second string was Chris Brazel playing behind Brew, Chaz Nimrod playing behind Squirrel, and then we had Dante Thornton playing behind Caleb Webb. The third string was Nate Spillman playing in Brew McCoy's spot, Braylon Staley, of course, playing in the slot, and then we had Nathan Leacock playing on the outside. Now, this is big for me because y'all know that I love Nathan Leacock, and I want him to have an opportunity to get out on the field and be able to stick around with this team. Now, it does suck just because Mike Matthews kind of being banged up could be the reason that we're seeing a guy like Nathan Leacock being worked into that third string, because it sounded like he wasn't even working up that high over summer ball and spring camp, things like that. So that is good. Just, other people are getting an opportunity. I think that it is pretty interesting also to see Caleb Webb working with the ones. He looked really good in spring, so I'm not surprised. But do you think that at some point Chris Brazel or Dante Thornton is going to end up overcoming him for that spot? It's also interesting that we have Chris Brazel playing behind Brew, and then we have Dante playing behind Caleb. So there's just a lot of combinations that I think that we'll see over the course of all of fall camp. And really, all these guys should have a good opportunity to play. I also would like to see Nate Spillman get some opportunities as well. Now, let's talk about that tight end room, okay? There was no real rotation, as far as who the starters were or anything like that, but that's a very deep room. Now, what I saw from them out on the field was, number one, Ethan Davis looks really good wearing number 0. I think it fits him well. Miles Kittelman and Charlie Browder both looked really good physically. You could tell that they're all up around 250-ish pounds. I didn't get to see Holden Stays, so I don't know exactly how he looked out there, but I will say some of the videos just kind of leading up to practice today, I saw him in some interviews, things like that. He looks very, very well put together. So I'm just very excited about that room. What does the staff do now that they have a fully loaded tight end room? I mean, they should be able to do a whole lot of different things with this offense. So it should be fun. I think we're going to be very, very creative. I feel like Coach Halsley just had so much confidence out there, today and in yesterday's press conferences, things like that. So you could tell that he's juiced up. Coach Heupel's juiced up. The entire offensive staff is very juiced up. Now, let's talk about our offensive line. Now, the starting group, starting off at left tackle, was Dane Davis, Andre Carrick, playing at left guard. Center was, of course, Coop. Right guard was Spraggs, and then right tackle, of course, was John Campbell. Now, we have Dane Davis starting at left tackle because, like we talked about earlier, Lance Hurd was a little bit limited today. So we'll see what happens with that. It is good just to have a veteran like Dane Davis that can step up in situations like this. But what the heck is going on with Lance Hurd is going to be my biggest question. Hopefully, we will be getting some answers in regards to that here pretty shortly. But at left guard, Andre Carrick starting. I was not impressed with what I saw from him today. He looks like he's a little bit out of shape. Not going to lie to y'all. And he looked a step or two slow, in my opinion. So I think that ultimately that battle is really going to be down to Shem Umarov and Jackson Lampley. But maybe Andre Carrick can get it together before the season starts and he can kind of solidify himself at that position. We'll see. Now, on to the second string, we had Larry Johnson playing at left tackle. Shem was playing at left guard. Vyson Lane's at center. Jackson Lampley's at right guard. And then Jesse Perry, as a true freshman, works himself up with the twos at right tackle. So that's huge. You know what I mean? Especially to have a freshman coming in and being able to work up this much. Now, clearly it's going to kind of be because Lance Hurd is out, so everyone has to kind of take a step up on the depth chart. But I do feel like the staff has confidence in Jesse Perry. They've talked a lot about him, had several good things to say about him. So, and I've been impressed with what I've seen from him too. Now, didn't get to see him go today at all, but hopefully we'll be able to see him some tomorrow. Hopefully Larry Johnson also looks really good at tackle. It sounds like we now have 3 guys that we can rotate in as backups at the tackle position. Haven't even got into Jeremiah Hurd or Bennett Warren. Those are 2 more guys that I feel like could step in maybe at some point this season and give us a whole bunch. But I also like the fact that Jackson Lampley is playing on the right side. I really feel like the right side fits him more. Now, someone that is not mentioned right here, and I'm a little bit shocked about it, is Adam Bustle. What the heck is going on with him? He's going to have to step it up. Let's also talk about the center position, just because we've heard that maybe Vyson Lane could be getting cross-trained at either of the guard positions. And William Satterwhite, I think, looked really, really good today. You can tell that he's gained that weight. He looks very explosive, and he is a dog. So could he push Vyson Lane for the backup center spot? That's going to be interesting. Now, let's talk about our defense. Starting off up front, I think that the entire defensive line just looks ridiculous. James Pierce looks a little bit bigger, a little bit more explosive. Okay, he's more focused, and he was being a veteran leader out there, just kind of helping all of his younger teammates get things figured out, know where to be, understand what to do in different situations. So that's huge for him to kind of embrace that role, because obviously they're going to be looking up to him to do that for them. Now, let's also talk about the rest of those Leos, okay? Joshua Josephs is a guy that the insiders have said looks, visibly bigger, and I think that he did as well, but he's maintaining that speed, that burst. Same thing could be said, obviously, about Caleb Herring, who I did not see today, but we know that, he's bigger. We don't know if he's going to be able to maintain his speed and all that, but I will say that Jordan Ross, very, very impressed with how he's put together physically. Over 250 pounds, but he's just so twitchy. He's so explosive. I think that he will contribute a lot for us this season. Now, let's talk about the strong side Deans, because another player that the insider spoke very highly of was Tyree Weathersby. They said, man, he looks like he's been gaining weight. And to me, he actually looks like he's gotten thinner. So that tells you a lot. If he's listed at about 272 pounds, is he up to 275 carrying it like that? I think that would be phenomenal, because he's still very fast, very twitchy. But we also still have Dominic Bailey, Jason Jenkins, Tyree West. They all looked very good from what I could see out in practice today. Super excited about the strong side DNs. I also saw just like one clip of Emmanuel Okoye just standing around. He looks like he's getting, bigger and stronger, especially in his lower body. And he's so long that, last season he was about 245. He didn't look like it at all, just because his arms and his legs are so long. But now that he's gaining weight, especially in the lower body, could he be a guy that could play at the Leo position at 270 and still keep that burst? Very excited to see what comes out of camp in regards to Emmanuel Okoye. Now, as far as the defensive tackles go, I mean, listen, Big O, Big E, both of those guys looked great. Bryson Easton looks really good. Didn't really get to see Omar Norm a lot, but I'm sure that he looked great. Jackson Moore looked good. Nathan Robinson. So, we're just super deep inside that room without question. Definitely think that that's the deepest position group in the entire country. And just could not be happier about the way that we put it all together. Next, let's talk about our linebacker room. I didn't see any clips of Keenan Pili, but definitely expecting a huge season from him. You already know that. Arion Carter, I think, looked extremely explosive. Very, very fast. He's like safety fast. So he should have a really, really big year. Can't wait to see how he looks with those pads on. Jeremiah Telander, love what I saw from him. I also love how he spoke to the media yesterday. I mean, just you want to talk about a football guy through and through. He is 100% a football player. He's a dog. He's going to have a huge year, no doubt. I think that Edwin Spillman looked good. Looks like he might have cut a little bit of fat. He looks a little bit more lean, which is great. You got to be able to play with speed in this league. I didn't see anything from Jordan Burns. I'm waiting to see about him. Jalen Smith, I think I saw like a clip or two of him. Looked like he was a little bit thinner, so that's going to be huge. If he gets back to playing with speed, that room is special. Also, Caleb Perry, he looked very, very explosive. He also looks like he's pretty lean. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing. Our strength team is doing a phenomenal job with this team. I remember I used to look at teams like Alabama and say, what are they like? Are they taking steroids? Like, what are they doing? The whole team is so lean. Even the offensive linemen, you can see like the triceps and all that stuff is popping out. Now we're starting to see that with our team. So just excited about that room. I think that it is going to be a very, very special season for the linebackers. Now let's talk about the secondary. Didn't see a whole lot, right? Like I see some of these guys going through, just like the regular drills and things like that, but not a lot to take away. I think outside of the fact that, yes, we look better with some of these numbers, right? Because John Slaughter moving from 33 to 12 is huge. I also think that Turntime looks good wearing number 2. So we're going to have another number 2 at safety. I feel like we've had a number 2 at safety for like 20 years now. But, that's cool. I think that he is going to have a really big season. It also sounded like some of the insiders were impressed with Kobe Thomas's size. They said that he should be a very physical presence. But, we've kind of said that for a while. Like, that's his game. He's a strong safety, but he can also cover. And he's going to be an enforcer on that third level. I think that it pretty much starts with him. But that's pretty much all that I saw just as far as, any of our secondary players. I can also maybe talk a little bit about Boot Carter. He looked good, just kind of going through his drills, transitions. Of course, he looks very, very confident. He looks very comfortable. Looks like he's been doing this for, I would say, like a year or two now, but he's only been doing it since the spring. But that's very impressive. Also, Idris Farouk looks like he's maybe got a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, but he looks good now wearing number 15. So this team, y'all, from top to bottom is very impressive, and I'm excited about it. But let me know y'all's thoughts about the first day of fall camp down in the comment section. As always, thank you for sticking all the way to the end. And please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.